Stoli Vodka is one of the world's most awarded premium vodkas. With a commitment to uncompromising quality since 1938, Stoli controls every aspect of its vodka making, from planting, harvesting the finest ingredients, to distilling and bottling. This process has been followed for decades to guarantee the consistency and quality and signature ultra-smooth taste in each iconic bottle produced. Isn't it time you picked up Stoli Vodka for a try? For those who know their vodka well, and themselves even better, Stoli, the vodka. Check out Stoli as the official vodka in Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue. Enjoy responsibly. 40% alcohol by volume. Imported by Stoli Group USA, LLC, New York, New York.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Back again here on Golic and Wingo. I'm Adnan Verkin for Trey alongside the Golics. And Mike Golic Jr. coming in hot. As always, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our phone guests in the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. We're on ESPN Radio, ESPN2. Rocking a little Pug Life. Westminster Kennel Dog Show.
It's a big night last night for the toy group. The Pug, Biggie, taking home the win with a heavy heart. Really got me in my feels last night. He was usurping his father, Mr. Rumble, who had passed away unexpectedly the last summer. So Biggie in his stead last night, an emotional moment. The handler, I heard his voice quiver a little bit, and that was it for me. I was a puddle in the middle of my living room.
You cried last night during the dog show.
He cried during the Westminster Dog Show. He cried.
That was my life last night.
Listen, I got no issue with that. We're double pug owners. Okay. We have a lab, a Tahoe, and then we have Hank and Harry, our two pugs. So we love the pugs. We're going to get into the Westminster. We had, I think, 4 or 5 best in group last night, a few more tonight, and then best in show. We can only hope Biggie takes best in show. We'll have to see. He's got some stiff competition, though.
It's an honor already to be named best in group. Any handler and dog owner will tell you that in this competition with as many great dogs and breeds as are involved. Already a huge honor, but really rooting for the little guy right now. Beneath my tattooed, bearded exterior are a hell of a lot of feelings, and Biggie tugged at all of them last night.
I do like the shirt, though, the Pug Life shirt. It's very nice. And
we'll tweet that out.
Somewhat interesting last night, as we're watching the Westminster, they go to an interview with the handler, and they're on one knee with a microphone in a tuxedo. Is one Shannon Sharp.
Yeah,
doing the interviews. I mean, like, all right, Shannon. I mean, again, I would love to be in his stead doing that.
No
I would
question.
love to be. Well, I'm sure you would as well, though you would have broken down right with the handler.
Oh, okay. That would have been a weepy mess. But it was where I felt my prolonged proximity to Stu Gotts shining through.
Yes.
Is in that moment I'm sitting there watching Shannon Sharp, and I'm going, why can't that be me?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Why am I not doing this already? I get it's not on our air, so what?
Noted lacrosse sensation, Stu Gotts.
Yeah,
that's how he will
exactly
always
right.
be referred to from now on.
Exactly right.
I do love, though, guys, just when they're describing each dog. Like, they're like he has wolfish tendencies. He's actually much more well groomed.
A delightful boyish breed with an otherworldly charm and a smile that lights up the room.
Like, just to be able to write those
family dogs. And I love how they explained it, and they said they need an owner that has the same qualities. It's like,
right, okay. Exactly, yeah. They always say you kind of end up resembling your dog, both in personality and
love
looks.
it though. Love it. We're gonna have a breakdown of that.
No question. Golic and Wingo presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guest list for today: Jay Billis at 7:30, PJ Carlissimo at 8:05, and Royce Young at 9:30. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. If you miss any of those guests, you can listen to all 4 hours on demand in the ESPN app.
Off the top.
Well, here we go. I think this
Off the top.
Let's do the other one.
There you go.
Off the top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
Off the top, the remix. Chloe Kim, give it up.
Chloe, yes.
Awesome story last night. We're all in on the Winter Olympics here on Golic and Wingo. Youngest woman to win a snowboarding medal in Olympic history. A couple months shy of her 18th birthday, she took gold in the half pipe. On Tuesday night, Michaela Schifrin and Shaun White will both go for gold tonight. Schifrin looks to become the first back-to-back Olympic slalom champion, and White can join. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Bonnie Blair is the only Americans to win the same Winter Olympic event 3 times. But Chloe Kim's story, Mike, 17 years old.
Dominating.
Mike Jr., you were saying earlier today on First and Last that when you guys talked to Michael Eaves, he had said, watch out for her. 17 years old, was so great in the first run, didn't even need to perform in the final one, and then it was nearly flawless. It was awesome.
Dominating. 4 runs, all of them over 90 points. Not one other competitor got over 90 points in a single run. She did it 4 times, so that's the expectation was she was going to win in the domination. 17 years and 296 days, the youngest. I mean, just incredible what she's done, and it was Tough expectations, though, for a 17-year-old. A lot was put on her, and she came through with flying colors.
A lot, but really displaying a lot of what I think that sort of obliviousness to that. She was nervous and had all that, but was tweeting in the middle of runs. After that first run where she dropped the hammer on everybody, she had time to reflect on not finishing a breakfast sandwich and going into that run hangry. She was tweeting about churros before, and this is sort of how starved we are for personality from athletes, and someone being forthright that people were eating this up. She gained over 70,000 followers last night just by tweeting about churros. It's that easy, everyone. It is that easy. But she was on her game last night, and more ways than one.
Flaming hot Cheetos as well. She was tweeting about. It's a good point you bring up, Junior. Like, I think now people are so pro-vegan and, like, you know, gluten-free. So when somebody goes, you know what? I like to have some Cheetos.
Oh yeah, she loves the junk food. She's a big fan. And how about our two with the event? Red, our 17-year-old dude, whose family's over there, you know, shotgunning beers, you know, watching him win. And now Chloe, 17-year-old, winning. By the way, we dominate in the half pipe. We have more Olympic you know, well, that's I'm from the U.S., that's right.
Yeah, America.
More half-pipe medals than all other countries combined. 18 of the 33 medals, 10 of those of the 18 in women's half-pipe. So we are dominant in the half-pipe, and tweets in between runs as well.
Exactly. One in traditional American fashion. The minute she mentioned churros, we're all like, all right, go on, I'm interested.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Well, you had some churro ice cream the other day, buffet.
I did. I tell you what, they should ban mirrors in restaurants. Because the minute you look up and see yourself, I mean, I was like a wild animal. The dogs at the Westminster show would eat with more class and grace than I displayed in that public setting.
Displaying wolfish tendencies while eating the churro.
Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, that's how you would be explained. And then you mentioned Schifrin, what she's going to do already. That delayed a bit with her run with the wins, and then Shaun White. Bonnie Blair. I remember watching Bonnie Blair speed skater and what she had been doing, and now Shaun White, as you mentioned, can equal what she did 3 times in the same event. So look forward to that.
Also, a human interest story here, which is amazing. 11 months ago, Mark McMorris lay waiting for a rescue helicopter in the backcountry near Whistler, British Columbia. Fractured jaw, ruptured spleen, internal bleeding, multiple broken bones, and a collapsed lung. Said the Canadian snowboarder, I was pretty sure I was going to die. 11 months later, the guy is a medalist. He wins the bronze medal in the men's snowboard slopestyle. The Regina native coming up huge. This was the Red Gerard won gold.
Red Gerard won it, and then 2 Canadians took the silver and the bronze. Mark being one of those, he took the bronze. But gang, it's ridiculous. What we'd heard, he broke 17 bones, the fractured jaw, ruptured spleen, internal bleeding, and now he's okay. So we can read this and haven't. He said, I was pretty sure I was going to die. He had missed time to jump and struck a tree in midair.
Well, how close
where
are the
trees? You jumping to miss time and hit a tree?
This is the world that these guys live in, and when you talk to people that, I mean, forget just the competitive Olympic athletes, but people who chase these highs in extreme sports just in their everyday lives, you read about some of the things they're doing, whether it's to dodge avalanches or put themselves in position. I mean, this is the sort of perilous world, and so when we just see the gold medals on the back end, you forget that all along the way there are stories like this.
So this was last year, right? Now, this dude won a bronze in the 2014 Olympics, but then in 2016, before he hit the tree midair, he broke his femur and had a metal rod surgically implanted in his leg. I mean, dude, he's going to be bionic by the end of this thing, but he comes back from all of it, medals in 14 and gets the bronze here. Incredible story.
Canadian tough.
Off the top.
There we go.
Pretty easy to do with a robot leg, though, right? Like we can all agree that they probably need to look into that.
Unfair advantage. To the NBA, Utah Jazz came back from a 13-point deficit to beat the Spurs, extending their win streak to 10 games. Donovan Mitchell.
About him.
First rookie to lead his team in scoring during a 10-game win streak since Wilt Chamberlain for the 1959-60 Warriors. This is a story nobody's talking about, and a player nobody's talking about.
Nope.
But give up some love for Donovan Mitchell and the Utah Jazz.
Without a 13th pick kid out of Louisville with Utah. So they were 18 or whatever they were, and 19 and 28 when the streak started. Wow. So now they've won 10 in a row. And it's interesting, whenever you're putting the same name with Wilt Chamberlain, you said Chamberlain did the same thing. Chamberlain averaged 41 points, Mitchell 21 points in the 10-game streak. 41 points. Again, every Wilt Chamberlain stat you read deserves its own book, without question. Also, Mitchell is the first rookie guard to have multiple 40-point games prior to the All-Star break since Michael Jordan. So, yeah, give it up. Some of these rookies are having certainly some big years. Utah, about a game and a half out of the playoffs. Jay Crowder got traded there in the Cleveland, purge that they had. He had 14 coming off the bench. So a nice night for the rookie and Mitchell.
Yeah, and equally as impressive, you mentioned all the 40-point outings in the offense, but over that 10-game stretch, as far as defensive efficiency, second in the NBA in that 10-game span during that time period. So getting it done on both ends of the court and trying to ride the wave.
Off the top.
Also, Cavaliers visiting the Thunder this evening, seeking to avenge a loss from January 20th when Oklahoma City scored 148 points, the most ever allowed by a LeBron James team. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony combined to score 88 points in that victory. They're most in a game this season. Westbrook and Anthony both questionable, though, with sprained ankles, so that could take a little bit of juice.
Yeah, if that's not if they're not in the game. But we'll see. This is Cleveland's second game with the new four coming together on the court the way they did in Boston to destroy the Celtics. Now, again, I don't think anybody's gonna see the shooting percentages we saw in that game. It'll start to settle in a little bit, but for going against a team that they gave up 148 points. In fact, 3 of the 4 highest scoring games against LeBron have come this year. Actually, in the last 2 months when Cleveland has just been playing horrible before, again, the purge. Thunder had scored 148 on them. Timberwolves back in February, 138. And in January, the Raptors, 133. So let's hope they don't have any more of those games to see how these 4 keep acclimating themselves.
If I'm not mistaken, that 148-point outing was the Kevin Love game that sort of got everything going, that snowball effect in Cleveland that started when Kevin Love left at halftime of that game to go in the locker room because of the illness that got talked about, and then you had the team meeting after all that. So the last time these two teams met was really the beginning of the squad that we see now.
Yeah, pretty crazy. While you were sleeping, brought to you by Tempur-Pedic, ranked highest in customer satisfaction with mattresses by J.D. Power. Tempur-Pedic, sleep is power.
And didn't we find out it's not Kevin Love's fault, that it's Dwayne Wade's fault?
This is
an incredible quote.
Yeah, it was great. Our own Dave McMenamin had this story. He was talking about, of course, Dwayne Wade was a part of that purge. And the quote was, he said, things like LeBron James after the Cavs lose a game, a tough loss. It says in the practice schedule, 11 a.m. the next morning. LeBron is leaving the locker room and says, hey, Dwayne, see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Let's get our work in. And Dwayne says, nah, man, I'll be there at like 10. Actually, more like 10:15. That's nothing wrong, but it shows LeBron is kind of inhuman when it comes to his approach to the game and ability. Dwayne Wade not on the same timeline anymore.
Yeah, I said LeBron needs guys that can help him and prop him up at this stage of his career. Dwayne was not doing that. That's why Kobe Altman on his conference call talking about the trade, this is a great line. He said, we need more fountains than we do drains.
Ooh.
I love that. Ooh. I love that line.
D. Wade getting crushed.
But D. Wade getting called a drain there as he's on his private plane with his beautiful wife flying back to Miami going, see ya.
Right. Yeah, getting the King's ransom to go back. Yeah. It's sort of like when Miami punished Jay Ajayi by sending him to win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia.
Exactly. We'll show you.
We'll punish Dwayne Wade by sending him to not live in Cleveland anymore and go back and live in Miami where he's beloved figure. Well, listen, I grew up in a time where anytime my dad would introduce himself and say he was from Cleveland, the response from other parents would be, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It genuinely happened
and
on
you
more
saw
than
what
one occasion.
happened to those parents when they said that in front of me. I took care of business then.
Yeah, exactly. You walked away and started crying in the parking lot.
All right, well.
Blue-collar Cleveland.
Off the top.
And Trae Young, the 23rd ranked Oklahoma, seeking to snap a 6-game road losing streak at 7 Eastern on ESPN. The Sooners visit number 7 Texas Tech. In a victory against the Red Raiders in Norman, Young shot a season-low 30% from the field, but did record 27 points, 10 assists. Sooners have actually lost 5 of their last 6.
Yeah, they did.
A little bit of hiccups here lately.
Yeah, they did. They were at one point 14-2 this season, ranked as high as number 4, but you mentioned lost 6 of their last 8 games. Right. Now they're 23rd. Though he is, Trae Young is looking to beat his father, sweep his father's alma mater, Rayford Young, who went to Texas Tech. So we'll see if Trae can sweep him. But as you mentioned, didn't shoot too well in the first time around, even though they won. The Sooners are 6-2 against ranked teams. It's those unranked teams that are getting them and knocking them down a little bit. And it's when you can test Trae Young a bit and try and lock him down somewhere, you have a little bit of success against them.
Yeah, for Texas Tech, too, third ranked versus ranked matchup that they're hosting this year, 2-0 in those matchups so far. So unstoppable force meets immovable object.
Let's sell it somehow, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how much he's a part of their offense. Like, he's a part 55% of their offense. Like, that's insane to me. Like, on the one hand, you go, that's incredible. On the other hand, you go, all right, come tournament time. Literally, just one guy to slow down a little bit, keep the ball out of his hands, and that's been kind of the challenge as well. Adnan Virk in for Trey Wingo today. We are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Mike Jr. with us as well. So a story last night from the NBA. It's a long season. Guys got to try something different strategies. You guys have been there. You know what it's like in the huddle. So Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr capturing his 250th win on Saturday. Took some time off on Monday. This is the way you celebrate. During a timeout, midway through the first quarter, a 129-83 win over the Phoenix Suns. So non-competitive game.
Yeah.
By the way, a team that drafted Kerr with a second-round pick in 1988, and he was the GM from 2007 to 2010. He handed his clipboard to Andre Iguodala to run the huddle. Iguodala sat in Kerr's chair, breaking in the plays to his teammates while Kerr stood a few feet away from his assistants. As the game continued, David West received a coaching nod in the huddle, as did Draymond Green, who sat out Monday's game with a sprained finger. Green ran most of the timeout huddles throughout the game, and Kerr said his guys needed to hear a new voice. Here is Steve Kerr explaining what his decision-making process here was.
It's their team. I think that's one of the first things you have to consider as a coach. It's not your team. It's not Bob Myers' team. It's not Joe Lincoln's team. Although I'm not going to tell Joe that. It's a player's team. It's their team, and they have to take ownership of it. And as coaches, our job is to nudge them in the right direction, guide them. But we don't control them. They determine their own fate. And I don't feel like we focused well at all the last month, and it just seemed like the right thing to do. And I thought they communicated really well together, and they drew up some nice plays, and it was a good night for the guys.
See, I think the truth would have just been better. Long season, we're smoking these guys. Go have some fun, guys. I mean, right. Well, that was the explanation. It's the players. It's not the coach. Well, I mean, then are you setting back coaching there 100 years by saying it's not us? I mean, come on. I mean, right. You had a little fun. You mix it up a little bit. You're destroying this team, and I'm surprised some of the Suns didn't come over and maybe take part in the coaching as well. I mean, right. I look at it nothing more as it's a long season. You mix it up a little bit. You have a few laughs. You're in a laugher like this. Have a ball. Enjoy it.
Listen, Valentine's Day tomorrow, every once in a while, you've been together for a long time, got to role play a little bit.
You're using an not an S&M, but a role play analogy. So
yeah, exactly. All of a sudden, the UPS guy comes to the door. He looks a little bit familiar, but for the day he's Ted.
Oh my God!
Got a package to deliver.
You wear the pants for today, honey. Let's spruce things up a little bit. Yeah, would you be offended, Mike Jr., if you're on the Suns? Do you at all go, are you serious, dude? Draymond Green is calling the plays?
This is one of those places I never understood the disrespect in these spots, whether it came to running up the score in football. Teams get this all the time when they pass late. Right. I'm sitting there like, listen, our job is to beat these guys. We can't do it well enough, and they want to just keep playing the sport that we're all playing.
Right.
I'm not really going to lose sleep over this. If I'm the Suns, I'm not looking over at their sideline. I'm on our sideline trying to figure out why we're about to lose our fourth game by 40-plus points this season.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, this is what, a 62-45 at half, and if I did quick math, 99-71 going into the fourth quarter, of which Phoenix scored a total of 12 points in the fourth quarter. That's how big they were in coming to getting it back in this game. Right. Put up a big 12 in the fourth quarter. I'm with you, Mike, on this. I can't stand, especially at the pro level, when you're going to look at the other side and complain about anything they do if you're getting blown out. Right. You worry about why the hell you got blown out. What went on, why they got into the end zone, why they're running you up and down the court. Not worry about, oh, look at them disrespecting us by having a player draw out the play. Right. Be a little more introspective and look at yourself on why you guys stink so much as opposed to why some team is rolling you the way they are.
In their defense, though, the Suns didn't really come out and say that. Like Jared Dudley said it might be, but he said, we have to worry about more the fact that like maybe we don't deserve that respect right now.
You're right. I mean,
we're speaking in generalities.
Exactly. We're not putting this on the Suns. They did not say anything like this. We are definitely doing in generalities. If the Suns did say something, I'd be the first one to say, what are you talking for?
Right.
You guys cared so much. You put up 12 in the fourth quarter while you're getting destroyed. So worry about yourselves. But they didn't say anything like that. But that would definitely be my message to any team, pro, quite honestly, even college. At this point, you don't like what they're doing, stop them.
Right, and their coach didn't have an issue either. Jay Triano, who's coached the Canadian national team, he joked, I noticed their plays were a little better at a timeout tonight. He's like, I didn't have a problem with Steve did. Even Devin Booker said, I like the move personally. If I was a coach, I'd do that throughout the year, so I wouldn't even look at it as disrespectful.
Right.
And even as Kerr said it, my voice sort of sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher after a while.
Wah. That's exactly right. Got to mix it up a little bit. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, a little peppermint
role play,
patty.
huh?
What if, let's get back to the 50 Shades of Grey.
Okay.
What if they just shot 2-pointers? Like if Kerr said, let's just test ourselves. We're up by 30. No one's allowed to shoot threes. Is that gimmicky? Would that be
pass? Every person on the floor has to touch the ball.
Right.
You have to have at least 5 passes, and you have to shoot 2s. How about
at that point?
And then this is serious role playing. And then as you keep destroying them, now it's everybody has to touch the ball, and you can only shoot in the paint. You just keep moving closer to the back. Then it's you can only dunk. You have to work it around until you get a dunk. That would be
that feels like it's really pointing a weird finger at Steph through all of this. Like, all right, man, only dunks from here on out. You good?
Right, exactly. Figure it out. Let us know. Golic and Wingo, tweet us your thoughts. What else could the Warriors do and still beat the Suns? Play with 4 guys? Give Curry or Durant to Phoenix for the entire game?
Oh, man.
Or only shoot 2-pointers? We'll discuss all of that. Give us your best ideas once again at Golic and Wingo. Golic and Wingo is presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Guys, there's only 1 day left until Valentine's. If you're still looking for the perfect gift, 1-800-Flowers.com is here for you with beautiful bouquets starting at just $29.99. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Coming up, a redemption story of sorts, but where does it go from here? Plus, we've got some wonderful luge stats, which we'll be locked into here in the commercial breaks.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr.
Adnan Burke in for Trey. Today we are Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. You heard the dulcet tones of Mike Jr. yesterday describing his dream, because we were talking about the Winter Olympics quite a bit, which we'll get back into shortly. But one of your dreams, Mike, is to be a part of the figure skating ensemble, as it were, at the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, you just look at it, it's such a far cry from what we did as football players. I was big and fat and sweaty, running into other big, fat, and sweaty guys. It's just not a very visually pleasing thing at the level I played it at, and so I want to be a part of some beautiful show of art.
I didn't see that coming, because we said outside of curling, which we'd all love to do, which event would we really like to be good at and do at the Winter Olympics? You had said ski jumping.
Love it.
I would want to do the downhill.
Right.
And you came up with figure skating,
Incredible.
which just the visual of that alone kind of makes me want to hurl.
Well, I mean, listen, it'd be very form-fitting. That is one thing is non-negotiable for me, is if I am figure skating, we're going to see it all.
Right, pink ribbons and such.
Yes.
Well, Golic and Wingo is where dreams come true here on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. And so apparently our man Jerry can make this dream come true. Take a listen.
And you hear the crowd roaring as Gojo takes to the ice. He's donning a ravishing glittering green and gold wrestling singlet with a plummeting V down his back.
You think he could have shaved his back beforehand, Ryan?
The lack of professionalism is not surprising, Jerry.
He could really use that hair on his head.
Gojo appears to be in the ready position as the music is set to begin.
He's airborne, barely.
Oh, God! It's the double Twinkie Spinorama! Is he going on to all fours on donuts?
It's the inverted crawler! I can't believe it!
Junior is cruising on those crawlers. I'd expect to see a secret weapon here,
And there it is, the shoot the moon pie nuts for Utz Lutz jump. And the crowd is going wild in this arena as every single one of them is throwing all of their 18 enchanted roses for only $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers.com with keyword Wingo onto the ice. Wow, 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 baby, wow! We will never see this again.
Great stuff.
There you go.
There's jelly everywhere.
Did you feel that as it was going on? Just yourself out on the ice doing all that?
It was palpable. I could see it right there. Couldn't you? All fours growling at everyone like a wild tiger.
Shoot the moon, nuts. Is that the exact jump that you're known for?
Yeah, exactly. It's a technical term. I won't bore you guys with
a true figure skating aficionado would know what we're talking about.
I thought the V down the back was pretty impressive with shaving your back hair.
It's tapered. Really, my head is more the product of gravity than anything else. Everything is just matriculated on down to those other parts. So you highlight it wherever it is. You go where people tell you to go take your content where the people are. I just take my hair where it's willing to go.
Yeah. I'm going to be sick.
That was Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage in America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE network. Speaking of the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
So last night I was watching female ski jumping last night. I wanted to go to bed. Gotta get used to these hours. I said, no, this female ski jumping is unbelievable. So Norway again coming through with gold. By the way, if you want a medal count, Norway, the Norwegians are unbelievable.
Absolutely.
They should
awesome.
be, right? They're leading right now with 9 medals. They should dominate, but they've been awesome. Also, talking about the luge, watched a bit of that last night, and we've got some more luge stats. I mean, it's I don't want to say a minor obsession, because I feel like that's when you say I had minor heart surgery. Like either you had surgery or not. Either you're obsessed or you're not. So it's not a minor obsession. It is an obsession. I love luge, love the doubles luge. Brett Parada, our researcher, has some stats on this. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, considering you are obsessed with the sport, as you just said, what do they call the participants in the luge?
The lugers.
No, they actually call them, sorry to make you hungry, Golic, sliders.
Really?
Oh, wow.
That's right, because they say we're going to the sliding center, so the sliders. Okay, I do like that.
I think lugers might sound too much like losers.
Like losers?
Right, a little derogatory. What's up, loser?
And, I mean, growing up, if you're a loser, people might make that.
I always wanted to be a loser.
Figured it might have been loogies.
Yeah, loogies would have been good.
So who is winning in the luge most often? There have been 129 medals awarded in the luge in the Olympics. Germany, 75 of the 129.
Wow. Germany.
Yay, Germany. Yeah. That's
impressive.
Like, I love Norway, the ski jumping. When it comes to luge, yay, Germany. Yeah,
okay, we're going to get more good stats out of that from the sliders.
Yeah, the sliders. That was the sliding center. Coming up, instead of try Trey, we'll try A. That's good stuff, Dan Stanzik. Plus Jay Bellis the next hour. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN 2.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more, like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick, Miss Lydia.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
It's time to try Trey.
Try Trey is brought to you by Discover Card, who will match all the cash back new card members earn at the end of their first years. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply. So apparently Wingo does not like the concept
we
of people
tried
getting
Trey,
to know him.
Not a big fan of that. Then we did this with Jason Fitz, and he played along with it with his music background. We got to know him very well. And with you, we're doing Try, not Trey. We're doing Try A,
which I think is
Canadian background.
By the way, this picture's horrific. So this is what happens.
Spear fingers.
When you take a photo shoot, this is the lesson I've now learned. You get a little goofy, right? After 10 minutes, you start acting silly. Okay, give me whatever you want. So once I started getting a little silly with the jazz hands, of course, nothing ever hits the cutting room floor. There's always a spot
exactly
for
right.
it. And then Joe, the camera guy, just completely...
You got to know that.
Right. When the camera's on, when the mic's on, everything is fair game.
Everything's material.
So now we got jazz hands over here.
Yeah, you do.
Hell of a shirt, though.
Oh, hello! What's the best life lesson you learned in your time spent working at McDonald's? That's the American Tim Hortons. Try, eh?
Oh, my God.
Very good.
Oh, my
very
God.
Good. I did work at McDonald's.
You did work at McDonald's.
2.5 years. It makes me think of coming to America. I remember Lenny Anderson.
Oh, yeah.
Or Louis Anderson, excuse me. He was like, in a couple of years, I'll be on fries. It wasn't quite like that, but here's the best lesson. I worked actually at a McDonald's, which is on the Highway 401, which is a big stretch between Toronto and Montreal.
Okay.
And so once a highway, right, you stop at McDonald's, no one's ever going to turn back if you mess up the order. So it never was rude or obnoxious. Time-honored move. Rather than a Coke, you just give them a root beer. And so what I learned at McDonald's is that passive-aggressive approach is the best way to get people in line.
If someone ordered a Coke, you gave them a root beer.
Correct.
And that was your way of getting back at them.
That was my subtle way. Like, 'cause listen.
That is Canadian justice if I've ever heard of it.
There's a big time difference between a Coke and a root beer. Imagine a 6-hour drive, Toronto to Montreal. It's stopping in Kingston. All right, boom. And, hey, come on, buddy, let's go. How long is it going to take? Okay, 1 root beer it is, sir. Enjoy.
I was waiting to hear you spit in the food or something gross
that
like
would
that. At what point did you fill the root beer instead of the Coke? At what point did they drive away? Did you feel bad?
Well,
you mailed them an apology letter, didn't you, too? Oh, sorry.
Once you see the kids in the car, too, you're like, maybe I went too far. Guy's having a long day, you know?
When you think of root beer, think of Adnan.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
What's the fast food restaurant that you frequent the most?
Was that Scottish? What was
Jerry
that?
has clearly never met a Canadian person in his life.
Here it is again.
What's the fast food restaurant that you frequent the most? Try it.
Yeah,
It sounds like a character from Braveheart.
Yeah. Very specific to Halifax, Nova Scotia, perhaps. That's the accent Jerry is going for, the Maritimes. I still go to McDonald's occasionally. I got to be honest. My kids love the McNuggets, and they got a play area there. So
can't beat that.
9, 6, and 1. Go ahead, have some nuggets. It's cold outside. Run around. I'll have a McChicken sandwich. Way to go!
Maybe every once in a while the ice cream machine will decide to work. I don't know.
Hot Fudge Sundae. It's still a great deal. I'm telling you. $1 menu.
Have you ever gotten a root beer instead of the Coke that you ordered?
No, because they know it's not a drive-through. I would come back and give them a piece of my mind.
Yeah, sure you would.
We know you love a good day at the cinema, but is it true that you asked your wife to marry you at a movie theater?
Well,
try it.
I like that music there at the end as well.
That was awesome.
Yeah, let's hear that one more time.
We know you love a good day at the cinema, but is it true that you asked your wife to marry you at a movie theater? Try it.
Yeah, little Rush.
Awesome. I'm telling you, Jerry's the MVP today.
Did you do that?
So my wife's from San Jose. I was there, obviously about to propose. We went to a restaurant, but the vibe wasn't great. Okay, people are just kind of, when the moment's right, and that moment was not exactly right.
So you planned on doing it there,
right?
But the vibe wasn't right.
Do you think you were going to get a no?
No, it wasn't that. It was just, speaking of churros, you mentioned earlier, this guy was upset about the churros.
Who was speaking of churros? What the hell are we speaking of churros?
Great callback. Churro ice cream an hour ago.
You went in, okay, all right.
Churro ice cream.
Silly me.
Yeah, we're in San Jose, right? People are upset about the churros. The waitstaff was kind of obnoxious. The vibe just was not right. It's the best way I can put it. And we were going to a movie afterwards. So I said, you know what? As we were there, I could do this another time or I could just do it now. So it wasn't actually in the movie theater, but just on the way in. So not quite concession stand, but I just got one knee. I'm like, all right, honey, let's just.
Outside of the movie theater.
After you made her pay for her ticket?
After
you got dinner, right? Because
after you went Dutch on the meal.
Yeah, correct. Hey, those tacos weren't exactly up to my specialties.
So was it in a parking lot?
Yeah, right in the parking lot going into it. Yeah.
Wow.
And then just drop down. And then you get like 3 people clapping, like, wait, are they really that excited to see Spider-Man 2? Like, I didn't realize.
Wow, okay. That's pretty good. I like that one.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, you can appreciate that considering your trash proposal.
My horrific proposal in the parking lot.
We'll get that. We'll tease it a little later on. Mike will tease that. One more here.
Go ahead.
Try A.
True or false? You once asked Jessica Alba if she thought you looked like Ben Stiller. Try it.
Are those Canadian geese?
Yeah,
is that what?
Just, we've emptied the budget here on every bit of CanCon
we have so many more questions. Did you?
Jessica Alba was here. My wife, when we first met, said I look a little like Ben Stiller. Kevin Negandhi thinks I look like Ben Stiller. So more than a few have said it. Jessica Alba worked with him in, I think, Meet the Fockers. So I just said, hey, people think I look a little like Ben Stiller. And she just stared and she goes, yeah, no, I don't know.
She wouldn't going down that road.
More handsome is what Jessica was thinking.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure she was.
Just didn't want to verbalize that exactly. But do either of you think Ben Stiller?
No, not one bit.
Yeah.
Not
a bit.
No.
Yeah.
Man. You have to talk yourself.
I'm not even trying to fake it.
How drunk am I?
Yeah.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
ESPN college basketball analyst Jay Bilas. The Billustrator is brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2018 John R. Wooden Player of the Year. Now, listen, we'll get to all the college hoops here in just a second. I promise you, Jay. But Winter Olympics time. You are a man of many tastes. How locked in are you here? Is there a sport you would most like to play?
Yes, I was, growing up, I was a really good loser.
We learned
actually, Jay.
We learned this. Yeah,
they're called sliders, not loser, because loser sounds a little too close to loser. So you would have been a slider.
No, I was a loser.
I don't care what the name is. I was a loser. Well done. Jay, NCAA Tournament Selection Committee puts up the top 16 teams in the tournament. I was with Seth Greenberg and LaFonso Ellis on Sunday, and we had some quibbles there. Michigan State is a 3 seed. Oklahoma's a 4. You tweeted, a few of the decisions in the bracket preview top 16 seeds are laughable. I hope this was just to create controversy and discussion. Otherwise, the committee is wasting its time. What particularly raised your ire?
Well, just the idea. First of all, when the committee chair came on the air, which they're great people. I know a ton of the committee members; they're great. But when the first thing the committee chair does is thank the committee for all their hard work and dedication, I'm kind of going, you don't lead with thank myself. And then they started, he started talking about led with quadrant wins. Well, this team's got 6 quadrant 1 wins, and this team's got 8 quadrant 1 wins. That stuff I don't think is the right way to do things, because it's an organizational tool that organizes information for weaker kind of basketball minds or less discerning minds. Doesn't mean they're not making the right decisions, but these quadrant 1 wins, let me tell you what those are. A win against a top 30 team at home in the RPI is a quadrant 1 win. A win at a neutral site against a top 50 team in the RPI is a quadrant 1 win. And a road win against a top 75 team in the RPI is a quadrant 1 win. So a win on the road against Rider counts in the same quadrant as a win at home against Villanova or Virginia. And that stuff doesn't make any sense. And it's all based upon RPI, which we all have said for a million years is a flawed measure and shouldn't be used at all. So they've just given this new thing for the first time that nobody outside of us basketball geeks understand or care to understand, that's based on a measure that we didn't like in the first place. So that's kind of the super dumb part about it, and the jock issue.
Do we lose Jay? Jay, do we lose you there?
I think we lost him for a second.
I think we lost him
There's
for a
no
second.
way he would just mid-thought.
I'm not going to lie.
That's all I have to say about this today.
I think we got him back.
Yeah, I'm still there.
Oh, okay, we got you. All right, I'm not going to lie. I acted like I knew what a quadrant win was just because I wanted to sound smarter than I really am, but I didn't know what a quadrant one win was. Now that I do know, it's the dumbest thing known to mankind. I mean, it is ridiculous how stupid that is. So it does seem they're doing this just like they do in college football. You start it halfway through the year, it becomes a talking point, but my gosh, that is a ridiculous. I'm with you on why they seed them that way. So I'm going to forget that, and I'm going to look at a North Carolina team that beat Notre Dame last night, but it was won 4 in a row now overall with them. Beat Duke a couple of games ago. Is this a team, after losing the players they did from the championship team last year, that can make a run now the way they're setting themselves up at the end of the year?
Well, it depends what you mean by run. I mean, I think they're a second weekend team, Sweet 16, Elite 8. They can do that. I don't see them going beyond that. Like, I think, Mike, there's a separation among the very top teams like Purdue and Villanova, if healthy, Cincinnati, Michigan State, Virginia. But outside of that, there are other teams that can get in there, obviously. There can always be a team like South Carolina that gets hot and a team in front of them falls down. That can happen. But I think for North Carolina, this is a lot like 2006 and 2010, the years after they won their last 2 national championships, 2017 being Roy Williams' third. They had a bunch of personnel losses, and their entire front court is gone. And that was the best front court in the country. So do I think they're anywhere near as good as they were last year? I thought they were the best team in the country in 2016 and 2017. I didn't think it was much of an argument. And they just happened to get into 2 championship games. I don't see this team being the same. Last 3 games, they've played much better than they did any time earlier in the season. But I don't think they have the firepower they've had in their championship years.
All right, Jason, we heard your gripe with the process of selecting and with the group, the Tier 1 wins and all those things like that. As far as the actual way the 16 teams were seeded this time around, I know you said a few of the decisions in that befuddled you. What were a couple of the teams that you thought were misseeded?
Starting with Michigan State, Mike, at 11. They were 11th overall. That makes zero sense to me. You can Michigan State at 11. The argument would be, do you put Purdue as a number 1 or do you put Michigan State as a number 1? Now, I had zero problem with the number 1 seeds. That's fine. But, reasonable minds can differ on, hey, what do you put Michigan State in as number 1 or is it Purdue? Because they just beaten Purdue, all that stuff. And the committee said they stayed up past midnight on Saturday night. And I was like, boy, I hope they were partying because they certainly weren't talking about basketball. And then the number 16 seed as Oklahoma made absolutely zero sense because Oklahoma has been on a slide that is pretty bad. I mean, they've lost 6 of their last 7, and they've lost like 8 games overall. And there's no way you can put an 8-loss team unless they played like 2 4-game series against the Golden State Warriors somehow. We didn't see that, and that's where the losses came from. That's not defensible to put them up there. And to me, in addition to this quadrant stuff, which I don't like the way they organize the information, but if you're looking at something, you're saying, wait a minute, Oklahoma's got 8 losses. Then you need to start looking at all these other analytics like KenPom.com and start looking at their adjusted efficiency and all these other things. And if you're seeing something different there that tells you a different story, then maybe you got something to justify. But, Oklahoma's ranked 31st in those measures, including in the 80s in defense. So the idea somehow that they've got some formula that makes them a top 16 team after losing all these games just doesn't make any sense.
Talking right now with Jay Billis. Jay, I'll be in the studio tomorrow night with Seth and the Fonz for the crossover. Always a ton of fun when you got guys like Dick Vitale and Bill Walton calling NBA games. How pumped are you? You're going to be doing Virginia Tech, Duke on ESPN2 with Hall of Famer Hubie Brown tomorrow night.
Yeah, I just hope that Hubie can enjoy the game instead of just taking notes at everything I say. Because, he's going to want to soak all that up, all that basketball wisdom up, and I just hope he doesn't miss things by trying to take it all in.
Right, learn from the best.
Exactly. Like, I'm so excited about, Hubie was an assistant coach at Duke years ago, and he and Chuck Daly were assistants under Vic Bubas back in the 60s. And I was a grad assistant for 3 years there under Coach K in the early 90s. So maybe we can compare our records. That might be fun.
All right, Jay. I saw your tweet about the kid from La Tech. What was it? Jacoby Boykins had the slam and got teed up for it. I mean, that was stunning to me. I don't know. For those that didn't see it, you can get it. You find it on Twitter, YouTube, anything. The dude has a great slam on a steal and a breakaway. And I mean, you like a split-second stare at the opponent, and the ref that's 50 feet away tees him up, and he ends up getting tossed from the game. So I take it you had a big issue with that.
Yeah, I didn't see any of that live, but I went back and looked at the tape, and that was his second technical for doing nothing wrong. The first one, he blocked a shot from behind an offensive player, and he blocked the thing with his elbow, and they called a technical foul on him, and there wasn't even a look there. And look, I understand these referees have a hard job, and they're told like that, they want to avoid taunting and all this stuff. So, but I mean, I can't believe you have to block a shot, or if you dunk, you have to immediately avert your eyes. Maybe they ought to wear those. What do you guys wear in football in your helmets? Those shields,
the visor,
where you can't see. Yeah, the visor, you can't see anybody's eyes. Maybe we just got to start doing that in basketball. And I know they're worried about a fight or something like that, but I don't see there are dunks in every game and there aren't fights in every game. It's not that big of a deal. And so it was a little overreaction by the officiating crew. And the guy that called it on the dunk, which was a fantastic dunk, and he didn't dunk over anybody.
No.
The guy was behind him. It's not that big of a deal. but the referee was at midcourt, and if there even was a look over, it wasn't any more than looking at a guy going, "Hey, I got him. You got him." It was so ridiculous. So I felt bad for the kid. But the only good news for Boykins in this is the entire Twitter world got to see his dunk, and it was Louisiana Tech against Charlotte. Charlotte hadn't won a game in forever. So maybe that got his dunk a little more attention than it would have otherwise.
And just on the way out, Jay, speaking of midcourt, Jay Williams, of course, and I'm sure Jay Williams can let us know, a lot of swag after he nailed that midcourt shot College Game Day. But the kid at Virginia, third time College Game Day's gone. You guys have gone there, and someone hits a midcourt shot. That was wild. And how great was Chris Long, Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, hanging out with you guys?
Chris Long could not have been nicer. That was maybe one of the best examples of you can be tough as nails and still be really nice. He had time for everybody there. And maybe he was still inebriated from the Super Bowl party, but he was fantastic to everybody that came up to him. And the athletic feat of Jay Williams hitting that shot with that tiny little suit on was stunning because he could not lift his arms above his waist with that tight little tiny suit, the medium suit. That was as impressive an athletic feat as I've seen in a long time.
It really was.
Great stuff, Jay. Appreciate you, man.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate it, man.
Always great to be on with Ben Stiller.
I tell you, the Illustrator, he's always listening.
Awesome.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
PJ, thanks for coming on Golic and Wingo today.
Hey, V, what's up? Hey, Michael.
How you doing, PJ?
Well, we'll start with the
Very well, thank you.
We'll start with the Cavs, PJ. They changed much of that roster at the trade deadline. They dominated the Celtics on Sunday. Look like they're having more fun, younger, more athletic. What did you see, and can they keep it up, PJ?
I think they can. I don't want to overreact to one game. I mean, to me, it's more commentary on how bad the chemistry was with the old group and how much of a difference just guys being enthusiastic and wanting to play. Now, sustaining it is something else. I think the Eastern Conference continues to improve, but the fact that they're in the East and the fact that LeBron has owned the East for so long certainly makes you wonder. I got to see them play more. That you're talking, in some cases, people that haven't been in the playoffs before haven't been under the kind of scrutiny that they're going to be in, but as always with LeBron, if they're close, he's good enough to get them over. I want to be respectful of what Boston has done really remarkably. It's lost in the shuffle. Talk about making a team over. They've only got 4 guys on their team that were on the roster last year, and, of course, Gordon Hayward goes down, and Toronto continues to improve. So I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not a believer yet.
As far as time, PJ, how much time do you expect for these players to kind of find their roles and that water kind of levels out on what this team is going to be?
Well, I think it's going to take a little time because Lou's got to figure out the rotations and guys have got to, who are going to be the main supporting people. And then, of course, what's kind of been not mentioned the last couple of days, Kevin Love's got to come back. Kevin Love's got to get healthy. Kevin Love's got to come back. I think people will appreciate him a little bit more when he does come back and when he gets back to playing the way he's capable of playing. I think he'll have more of a dominant role than he had earlier this year. So I like it. Rodney Hood's got to shoot the ball consistently, and he's got to be healthy. He's got to play on a regular basis. George Hill, I love. I'm a huge George Hill fan. I really like him a lot. I think Jordan Clarkson has got to prove he can do it on a winning team and under the scrutiny that he's going to face. I like Larry Nance Jr. a lot. His father's birthday's coming up, too, so I should give him a shout-out. But I like the team. I'm not going to be surprised if they are really competitive, but I've got to see it. You're talking unbelievable changes and I think a significant talent difference, particularly without Kevin Love on the floor.
PJ, you mentioned the fact Toronto improved. Right now, the 1 seed, you know where my heart is here. Your boy, Dwayne Casey, changed the style of the team. Listen, they're passing the ball more. DeMar DeRozan's shooting threes. A really good young bench. In fact, the bench has played the last 5 games. Starters have been able to rest, and DeRozan and Lowry, Jakob Poeltl, Fred VanVleet, DeLon Wright. How are we looking when it comes to Toronto and them being the best team in the East?
Well, I tell you, my heart's there too. I love the year I was there with Jay Triano. Jonas to me is the question, and I love the moves. I think if Kyle's healthy and playing the way he's capable of playing, and Jonas steps up, Valanciunas steps up, then I think they're as good. Put the 3 of them in, then I think it's going to be unbelievable. I just have bad memories of series against Cleveland that I thought Boston or Toronto was ready to compete with the Cavs, and it hasn't happened. And, so Cleveland to me is the vampire? Like, you don't put a stake through their heart, it's not going to happen. So I just think, we're not going to know. It's a cop-out, but no one's shown me yet that they're capable of beating LeBron, even with this new team.
PJ, any issue with what the Warriors and Steve Kerr did, letting 3 of the players kind of run the timeouts and drop the plays when they were dismantling the Phoenix Suns?
No, I think it's funny. I've had them twice in the past 2 weeks. I think Steve's biggest challenge, I mean, off the court, they can't turn the ball over, and there's nothing's going to make them a good defensive rebounding team. But other than that, his biggest challenge is trying to keep things fresh for this team, Mike. I don't know if you were on teams that so few faces, important faces, changed from year to year. And it's the same coach, virtually the same staff, saying a lot of the same things to these guys day in and day out. And I really think keeping it fresh is a huge challenge for them. I think the All-Star break is good. They're staggering into the All-Star break right now. I think a lot of the teams, nobody anticipated, or maybe they did, I just didn't hear it talked about, what a difference spreading out the schedule, starting earlier, having a shorter preseason. I hope that hasn't impacted all these injuries we're seeing. And everybody was always counting the days to All-Star break, but nobody more than a team that's played to the middle of June, the end of June, the last 3 years. So I think they're going to get their batteries recharged. I think they're going to have only 20-some games. I just did Spurs-Warriors. I think one has 23, the other had 22 after the All-Star break. So that's a nice little period of time to get refocused. And so, no, long answer to your question, I think anything he can do to keep it fresh is fine.
Adnan Burke in for Trey today. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We're talking to our NBA analyst, the great PJ Carlesimo. But, of course, PJ can do it all. You called the college game last week, and, in fact, the crossover tomorrow night. You're going to be on the call for Kentucky and Auburn. I'll be in studio with Seth Greenberg and LaFonso Ellis. But you're with 2 of my favorites, PJ. Adam Amin, who is as good a play-by-play guy in our business, and Dan Dockage, who might be the funniest analyst going. How psyched are you for this event tomorrow night?
Unbelievable. It's a great game. I've done a ton of Pac-12 this year, which I've really been excited by. I live out in Seattle, too far from Scranton, PA, man. I want to watch my high school, Scranton Prep. They're in the district playoffs this week. But living out in Seattle, I've done a ton of Pac-12 and a ton of West Coast Conference. So I've seen the Zags and UW, Mike Hopkins doing a great job. This game tomorrow, people don't realize how good Auburn is. Bruce Pearl, again, has done an unbelievable job. They're playing without 2 starters from last year with all the FBI investigation. They're the best team in the SEC. Cal's lost 3 in a row for the first time, and unlike, I think, the people in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, I don't think it's a negative. I just think it's another commentary on what a remarkable job he's done over the years. They continue to retool it. They continue to have freshmen who are playing like freshmen this year. And, chance to lose 4 in a row. It's early, but if you look at UK's schedule the rest of the way, it's very difficult. They got Avery Johnson waiting for them after this one, Alabama. But it's going to be really, really fun game. I think it's going to be a tremendous game. I think Auburn is one of the most underrated teams in the country. So I'm really looking forward to it. The atmosphere in the building is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, you mentioned Avery Johnson and Bruce Pearl, two former ESPN guys back in the coaching world and doing big things. PJ, always appreciate the time, man. Look forward to the game tomorrow.
Thanks, PJ.
Hey, V, good being with you. Mike, good luck with that chocolate job.
Oh, thanks, PJ.
Golic
makes me want to vomit and then punch you square in the face.
And Wingo.
Oh, he's saucy today.
So we did this earlier. I guess Trey didn't like this.
Well, Trey, you know, when Mike and Mike went for 18 years, and then Trey Wingo became my new co-host. So we did a thing called Try Trey, getting to know Trey.
Sure.
Trey didn't really, want to play along too much, but he did it.
Okay.
So we had some fun with it.
All right.
And then Jason did it. Was it Try Jason or Try Fitz? I don't remember. We did it with him. It was Try Jay. So we did it with Jason Fitz. He played into it well with his music background. And so with you, instead of Try Adnan, since the Canadian background, it's Try A. And we did a bunch of questions. Really, the questions are good, but Jerry, who does all the bits now for the show, is asking the questions in what he thinks is a Canadian accent, which at times sounds Scottish.
In your opinion, what's the biggest snub in the history of the Oscars?
Moonlight won Best Picture!
Try, eh?
I mean, what accent is that?
Let's try it again.
In your opinion, what's the biggest snub in the history of the Oscars?
Moonlight won Best Picture!
Try, eh?
That's more kind of English, right? Because, England and Canada are part of the
amazing.
Commonwealth. He keeps changing his accent. But the answer, of course, 1990, Goodfellas lost Best Picture to Dances with Wolves. Goodfellas is a movie that is...
I did not like Dance with Wolves at all. And what was in it, about a 5-hour movie as well?
I was about to say 3-hour movie, and it's got, good themes to it. But nobody in the last 28 years has said, I've got 3 hours. Let's watch Dances with Wolves. Yeah. Whereas how many times you're flipping channels, Goodfellas is on, even if it's edited, you're like, I can watch Pesci go off on these guys. Scorsese's direction, obviously De Niro, Leota. Like Goodfellas is an eminently rewatchable film.
Oh my
Nobody's
God.
watching Dances with Wolves.
Who was the guy? Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner. So obviously, if you want to get the whole, all his movies, you could have followed that up with Waterworld and been in great shape. Are you kidding me? I mean,
Dances with Wolves is like the peak for him because he won, obviously, Best Picture Director. But you're right. Waterworld's a huge bomb. The Postman was terrible. He's
awful.
had some highs.
But beating out Goodfellas, I agree. That was ridiculous. That was a monster movie.
Big time Oscar snub.
Outside of sports, movies, and wearing an outfit completely made out of denim, what's your number one interest or hobby? Try, eh?
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned the denim, of course.
Yeah.
The Canadian tuxedo.
Yes.
Yeah. Listen, I got 3 young kids, man. I like spending time with the boys. We go to the park, play catch, playing basketball right now. My son Yusuf.
How old are they?
9, 6, and 1 now.
So we're in the Little League sports and all that?
No question.
Yeah.
As I told you last year,
man,
I get really into it. As a matter of fact, Yusuf had a basketball game on Sunday where I was there, and one of the the scoreboard messed up. He scored his only basket of the game, and they gave it to the other team. So at halftime, I go over, I just politely ask the guy, I'm like, hey, you actually wrong basket. And the guy looks at me and goes, oh, I know you. I heard your story with Golic. You take this stuff really seriously.
Oh, no way!
I swear to God. I go, no, I'm not that guy. I'm just telling you. Like, he's going to get one.
Have you ever gotten thrown out of one of your kids' games?
I have not, but we're...
Asked to leave, asked to sit down, asked to be quiet.
I was about to say, wait for it. The team is currently 0-5. Now, I'm not coaching. I can't take any responsibility for this one.
Okay.
So I will not follow my sword this time.
So that's your passive aggressive way of ripping the coach right now.
But I got to say, this game was our most competitive. So I was up. I was shouting, interested. Mm-hmm. The other parents felt the tension.
Interested. That's the word you use, huh?
The guy who runs the league,
or annoying.
The guy who runs the league came over and goes, and he also goes, I heard you at Golic, man. I know how seriously you take it. I go, appreciate it. Thanks. Glad that story made the rounds. By the way, if you know how seriously I take it, you want to give us a few calls out there, Ref? Come on, seriously. I got travels all over the place.
Oh, that is awesome.
What's the biggest misconception about Canada?
Oh, Canada.
Try, eh?
Jerry is just killing me.
Are you, the nicest thing Americans always say about Canadians, people love our anthem. I used to work with Nomar Garciaparra, and he goes, and I think the Star Spangled Banner is great. In fact, Flyers, I prefer God Bless America, Kate Smith.
Good point.
But Americans always seem to love O Canada.
I hate your anthem.
Okay, fair enough. So you're the one who does not. Because I was sort of curious how that goes. Biggest one is, of course, the cold. Everyone just goes, oh, what was it like growing up in an igloo? Did you have your own caribou? How cold was it? I'm always like, listen, Toronto is southern is more south than Minneapolis.
Right.
Like it's, you know what I mean?
And we saw how cold it was in Minneapolis.
Correct. Like, does it get cold? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's not as bitingly frigid weather as people like to think.
All right.
Have you ever had any bad experiences because you're a Luddite? Like, say, for example, you didn't have Uber on your phone and you really, really needed it. Try, eh?
You're going to explain some of this.
This has nothing to do with Canada. This is just producer Dan Stanzik, who is the brains of Cinephile, utilizing that information. So I'm kind of an idiot with this stuff, Mike. I didn't have the Uber app.
Right.
And so normally when I'm in a foreign city, right, I go on the road for college football.
Right.
You know, the airport, yellow cabs are right there.
Yep.
Normally you're at a hotel, yellow cabs are there. But of course, if you want to go to a movie or something like that, yellow cabs aren't everywhere. So everyone's like, just get an Uber. But I was in Atlanta. I was there for the national championship, went and saw a movie.
Uh-huh.
And afterwards I asked it's like midnight. I asked the theater owner, I'm like, yeah, anywhere I can get a cab? He goes, a cab? Like at this point of night? I was like, yeah. He goes like, no, like we're not. Like, what year is this? I'm like, well, no, I know it's 2018, but you're going to get a cab? And he goes, no, I mean, just get an Uber. I'm like, yeah, I don't have that. He's like, what do you mean you don't have that? I'm like, I know what it is. I've heard of it, but I just
You don't have the Uber app?
So it was awful. He goes, I can call a cab, but it's going to take a while. This is like calling a cab in like 1992.
Yeah.
Like it took 30 minutes to get there. Wasn't sure it was the right one. I've since downloaded the app. It's terrific. Anybody who's
it happened to you again though in Park City, Utah, a few weeks later.
Right. That I was in Utah and I didn't have it, and I had a bad abscess. I had a throat injury, and the guy was like, and I'm like, I gotta get back to my place. And he was like, yeah, it's okay. He goes, listen, it's all right, sir. Like, I've got great news. We have a Lyft right here. And I'm like, and he goes, the Lyft app, just use it. I mean, you have it on your phone. I'm
sure.
Like, he's like, you're more of an Uber guy. And I'm like, and he goes, you don't have Lyft or Uber. I'm like, can't you just call me a cab?
Call a cab. No, he said, walk over the payphone and call yourself a cab. Oh my God!
We have these things called iPhones.
Are you serious?
I have since taken measures to download.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I wasn't into it at first. It was when the Super Bowl was in San Francisco.
Okay.
And my daughter was out there working for the NFL, working the Super Bowl, the different events and stuff.
Yeah.
And we were somewhere on the street, and she said, "Oh, I gotta get an Uber. I gotta go head off." And I said, "You know what? I don't have that yet. Set mine up." She actually set mine up on the streets in San Francisco.
Right.
Set up my Uber, got it all square, and I got my first Uber in San Francisco, and it is a dream.
I was about to say life-changing. You got the driver, you got his phone number, you got ratings on him.
Fantastic.
You don't have to worry about a tip if you want to go that route.
Yes, it's great. Oh my gosh.
Pathetic.
That is pathetic.
But now I'm back in. I love Uber. I think it's great stuff. We got one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the book you'd recommend to the most people in your life?
Yeah.
Try, eh?
I do love. Let's hear that laughing at mine.
What's the book you'd recommend to the most people in your life?
Yeah.
Try,
What's the book you'd recommend to the most people in your life? Now we're going to like Northern Ontario, perhaps. More like Sudbury.
It's unbelievable.
I love because of movies, right? Easy Riders, Raging Bulls, which is about the directors of the 1970s. Great stories about Scorsese and Spielberg, Altman, Francis Ford Coppola making The Godfather. It's an awesome book, and I think a lot of people that I know would like it.
Yeah, I wasn't even listening.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's when you glossed over. And aren't we going to break here?
Wait, you were recommending a book? I'm out. Yeah.
I lost you there.
Yeah, whatever.
Wait, you want more? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you on the air?
What up, player?
Try, eh?
Well, that's one of them. But I had when I was in Toronto, it was the end of the show, and I just started doing, I was our NBA guy at our station at the Score.
Right.
And
in Toronto.
In Toronto, yeah. Raptors at that time were terrible. And I finished up the show, and I said, all right, it's time now for the finishing move. And I love Olbermann. And Keith on his show on Countdown MSNBC would always end the show by rolling up a piece of paper and say, all right, good night and good luck, which is a nod to Edward R. Murrow. And he would toss it. So I go, all right, it's time. And I thought on the show, all right, it's time now for a finishing move. I crumple it up. The person goes, no, we're not done yet. I go, okay, not quite yet. We just have one more and we do live looking. So let's just check back in on the Lakers game. And the amount, and this is like, Twitter wasn't really going that hard, but all the emails that I got, people like, hey, well, that's his finishing move. And it's one of those often, Mike, you know this. You'd make a mistake and you go, oh, it's not that bad when you see it. It was 10 times worse. It was
horrible.
You see a guy looking like he's going to be funny and cool, like, oh, time now for the finishing move. And, actually, we're going to go to the Lakers game.
You got nailed.
So bad.
Oh, right. Like that.
Priscilla's like, if I could get video of that, like, I think that has been expunged.
Oh, I would love to see video on that. Anybody has video on that, we need that.
We're going to tease yours. Most embarrassing moment on the air coming up later.
I don't know. I can't think of one.
We've got another 40 minutes. You got time.
Whatever.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.